Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining day 2 of Red Cloud's Green Energy Conference, talking about a number of companies with important metals and minerals for the EV battery world. This morning, my name is Chad Gilfillan, Senior Vice President, Red Cloud Securities. Kicking off today's presentation, joining me from Perth, Australia, and presenting RareX, an interesting rare earth company, is Managing Director Jeremy Robinson. Jeremy, with that, I'll turn it right over to you, and I'll see you when it's question time.
Yes, thanks very much for that introduction, Chad, and thanks to Red Cloud for hosting us today. It's a pleasure to introduce RareX to this audience, and to a North American audience in particular. It's our first foray talking to that market. We're based in Australia. We're focused on rare earths, which are critical to the green revolution that's going on in the world. We're very much focused on producing rare earths and feeding into that market. So look, a quick introduction to the company. Our flagship project is the Cummins Range Rare Earths project. It's a carbonatite project, if you're familiar with those. We're located in Western Australia, in the mining-friendly country of Australia, very similar to Canada in the way it operates and the prospectivity in the geology. Very pleased to announce today that we're just upgraded our resource. This is a brand new resource out, almost 20 million tonnes at 1.2% TREO plus some niobium, and also including a very high-grade core to that deposit of almost 7 million tonnes at 2% TREO. That's on the back of some very exciting drilling we did last year, and we're currently back out there drilling again, which is really good for us. We hope to continue to grow this resource and push it forward into production in the coming years. And that's all into a background of a renewed interest in the rare earth sector. We're very fortunate that we've come along at the right time in the rare earth cycle. You're seeing some really strong demand driven by the EVs, which is the point of this conference. We've also got overlay some global trade tensions between the West, if you will, and the East. We need to develop our own supply chains out of the East, and we hope to be part of that. Lastly, I'll finally touch on a joint venture we have with a joint venture partner in New South Wales and Australia here, exploring for very large copper-gold deposits there. Not to do with rare earths, but copper is also extremely important in the electrification of the world, so I'll touch on that quickly. Look, our primary listing is on the ASX. We also have an OTC listing. We trade under those two tickers there. Well capitalised with 8.4 million in cash and shares. We have a shareholding in a Canadian company called Canada Rare Earths as well, where it's a strategic position for us. Our market cap is still relatively modest at around the $30 to $40 million mark. So we see a lot of upside in our stock, and I hope to convince you of that as we go through this presentation. The board, quickly, John Young is very well credentialed in industrial minerals, has had a lot of success in a company called Pilbara Minerals, which is a lithium company, so he understands the challenges of these styles of commodities. Cameron Henry runs a very successful process engineering company, so we can build the project as we move this project forward. Recently employed a general manager of projects to assist with the feasibility study, James Durrant, and we're excited to have him on the team as well. So the rare earths market, why are we into this? This is a story about electrification. This is a story of EVs and also renewable energy. Rare earths are specifically useful for their magnetic properties. If you want highly efficient electric motors to power your electric vehicles, you need rare earth permanent magnets. And if you want highly efficient wind turbines to convert the wind into power, you need rare earth permanent magnets. And the critical elements in the rare earth permanent magnets are neodymium and praseodymium. And they're the main rare earth minerals that we're focused on recovering. So all of that pent-up demand that's coming over this decade should lead to a deficit in the markets. We're expecting strong deficits throughout the bulk of this decade. And what we're finally seeing on the back of that is a rebound or a correction in price to an incentive price for all us up and coming producers. We're now over $80 a kilo for NdPr, that being the neodymium praseodymium product mix, and anything over about $70 a kilo, and all our projects become economic, and that's where we want the price to be, and that's where it is now. So we've hit the sweet spot in the NdPr market. So zeroing in on our project, where are we and what are we trying to do? This is Australia, of course. Our head office is in Perth, this is where I'm sitting at the moment. We have a project up in the north of the states and north of the country in the Kimberley region. This is an area that's well credentialed for mining and infrastructure, sealed roads, ports, airports. We have multiple mines in the area. We have gold mines, nickel mines, iron ore mines. So it's a well-trodden area for developing mines. We are fully engaged with all our stakeholders, including our Indigenous groups. We also are in the process of developing an ESG policy where that is first and foremost at the front of investors' minds these days, as you've got to have your ESG house in order, and that's something we're doing at the moment. We think by the very nature of being involved in EVs and renewable energy, we tick a lot of those ESG boxes, but we need to formalise what we're doing and document that so we can illustrate to our investors and potential investors what we're doing. It's also worth touching while we're here that our government, probably like the US and the Canadian governments as well, are very much interested in funding our projects now. They realise that they have to support us in our efforts to get involved in these critical minerals supply chains and diversify away from the current supply chains. And that's something that has come and is very much helping the prospects of our projects. So this is the resource that we're announcing this week. We've come up from 13 million tonnes to almost 19 million tonnes. We've increased the size, we've increased the grade. We've added niobium to the product mix. We're very excited by this resource growth. This is on the back of some really good drilling we did last year. And within that global resource, we have a really high grade component of almost 2% TREO of quite some size as well. What is worth noting is we also have very high NdPr within our rare earth oxide mix, almost 0.4% NdPr. And that's the primary driver of the economics. So 90% of the value in our ore will be within that NdPr. So we think we're in a very good space with the deposit we have, and we're fortunate that's on the back of some very good geology of this deposit. We've got a very competitive basket price if you want to try and ascribe some value to our resource of $34 a kilo of contained TREO. That's really competitive in the marketplace, and we think that should help the economics as we move this through scoping study. So just putting this into context for you, where does the grade sit in the curve of our peers? These are all ASX companies. I apologise if they're not entirely familiar to you. Lynas Rare Earth Company is obviously the only one in production there. Vital Metals is moving into production at the moment with a project in Canada, but they're listed on the ASX. So as you can see, our grade is really, really competitive against all of our ASX peers. And we're finally moving, we're moving the project up in terms of scale as well with this resource upgrade and some drilling we're currently undertaking at the moment as well, which should continue to grow the size of the resource and the quality of the project that we have at hand. So how are we growing this resource? We're growing it through drilling. That's the only way you can grow the size. What this project has sort of lacked in the previous 20 years is a real lack of focus on understanding the geology of the project. A lot of the drilling has been orientated the wrong way, and finally we're drilling it in the correct direction, and we are spotting these high-grade structures, these fault zones, these breccia zones, which contain the really high-grade rare earths. And that's what we're targeting in this drill program. We will target most of the drilling to date, and the high grade has been on this primary structure. We're out there targeting these interpreted parallel structures, and also targeting for the very first time some high grade depth potential under what we know is where the high grade sits in the oxide part of the resource. So we've done our 2,000 metres of RC drilling. We're about to kick off the 4,000 metres of diamond drilling, which will start next week. and we expect to get results from this program. It's the first time anyone's done any diamond drilling since CRA, now Rio Tinto, found the project in 1982. So a long time between attention with the diamond drill rig, this project, but we're very excited by our prospects. So this is the diamond drilling that I just mentioned. All this drilling to date has been done in the top 100 metres. We have very good widths and grades. You're sort of getting up to 90 metres at 3-4% rare earths, 20 metres at 5% rare earths. These are intercepts that wouldn't be out of line at the Linus project at Mount Weld. So simplistically, we're coming in and drilling underneath, and if we can do this, we can continue to add significant tonnes over the course of this year and into next year as well. So watch this space with the drilling. We hope to continue to grow the size of the resource and push the project forward this year and into next year. And in terms of moving the project along, we've just put out a resource. We're a couple of weeks late on that, but we're glad we've got it out now. We're into our scoping study. That'll be out this calendar year, hopefully in the September quarter. And we'll continue to drill all the way through to Christmas. About Christmas, it gets wet for a month and we'll pull out and think about it. But yeah, lots of progress, lots of noise, lots of news this year. So yeah, hopefully it should be a good one for our shareholders. So our strategy in terms of bringing this project forward, in terms of commercialising it, has always been to just produce a rare earth concentrate. We will start to look at going to carbonate and oxides, but primarily at this point in time, we are focused on producing a rare earth monazite-rich concentrate that we can sell to third parties. Historically, that's been a story for Asia, China in particular, but there's a lot of proposed facilities within Australia we may be able to tap into. There's also facilities being mooted for North America as well, which we will open up discussions with. So this is a market that's really developing quickly and is opening up a lot of options for us as a potential concentrate producer. So look, quickly, that's our rare earth story. As I mentioned, we also have some quality interests in some copper-gold assets in Australia. We're 35% free carried in some exciting porphyry exploration being undertaken by our joint venture partner, Kincora Copper. They are primarily a TSXV listed company, but they're now secondarily listed on the ASX. Extremely well funded with $12 million. Got a world-class exploration geologist there in John Holliday, who found the Cadia deposit. Cadia deposit is the backbone of Newcrest, one of the world's great gold companies, and definitely Australia's largest gold company. And look, they've had a lot of encouragement to date. They continue to drill, and we don't get a lot of value for this project at the moment, but if and when they find something, we should see it reflected in our share price fairly quickly on the back of our 35% free carry. So that was us quickly. We're a rare earth company. We're located in Australia. We've got in a quality jurisdiction with a quality project. We're very happy with the resource we're putting out at the moment. That was on the back of some good work last year. We're out there drilling again, expecting results of some more high-grade structures at depth and unparalleled structures, and all of that in the background of a more buoyant rare earths market. Finally, people are interested in rare earths, and so they should be, because this is extremely critical for the EV revolution, the renewable energy revolution. You need these high-powered magnets to both, drive the wheels on your Tesla and to make the power from the wind turbines. So extremely important stuff, and we hope to be an important player in this market. You also get some free carried copper-gold exploration exposure, as I mentioned on the last slide. And at a relatively modest market cap of $30 to $40 million, we think there's a lot of upside left in our stock. We think some of our peers, the other peers on that graph that I mentioned that you saw earlier, are in the realms of 200 to 300 million market cap. So we would encourage people to take a look at our story, follow the story, and wait for the results that are coming, and hopefully we can close some of that valuation gap over the back half of this year. And thanks very much for listening to our stories. I'm here for questions, and I see Chad's popped up there, so I'll pass over to him.
Thanks a lot, Jeremy. Great overview. Thank you so much. I guess it's over a decade since the last rare earth euphoria, where there was a number of TSX and ASX companies that had super returns. And the dialogue I remember back then was it was always the light rare earths versus the heavy rare earths and what matters. So, just for a re-education almost, could you kind of talk about your light rare earths versus heavies and just kind of general uses, just for almost an education?
Yep. Look, simplistically, there are 17 rare earth elements. The light rare earths are lanthanum, cerium, neodymium, and praseodymium. But essentially, all that the world demands now is neodymium and praseodymium. So they're the light rare earths of importance. The rest are heavy rare earths, but the heavy rare earths of importance are dysprosium and terbium. So neodymium, praseodymium, the lights, and the heavies are terbium and dysprosium, and they're the ones that make up your magnets. They're the ones we want. They're the ones that drive the value of our projects. So there's only 4 rare earths you really need to remember, and those are the ones I just mentioned.
Excellent. And then it comes to it's great to have a lot of rare earths, but how do you get it out? And so it comes down to mineralogy and metallurgy. And I know yours is a monazite project. Could you maybe talk about that relative to other kind of, even in China or Mountain Pass or other monazite, I guess, relative to what else is out there? How does monazite qualify?
Certainly. Yeah, so there are 3 main styles of rare earths that are mined. There are the bastnasite projects, which is Mountain Pass, and some of the ones in China. There are monazite projects, which the largest one is Mount Weld. Ours is a monazite project as well. There are also monazite projects in China. And then there are the ionic clay projects, which are a different beast entirely. They're really low grade, but they have a lot of heavy rare earths in them. But the main ones that are the hard rock deposits are bastnasite projects and monazite projects. Historically, monazite projects have higher deportment of NdPr, so they're more valuable from that point of view. But in terms of processing these minerals, it's a flotation circuit. It's a crush grind flotation circuit, both bastnasite and monazite. And then when you go to crack and leach them, it's slightly different chemistry. But in essence, look, they're both readily recoverable, both bastnasite and monazite. It's just the luck of the draw which one you get.
Right. And then we have a question on budget and news flow and drilling. So with launching the 4,000 meters of diamond drilling, I understand you have 2,000 meters of RC as well. Is the RC in progress now and then followed? But so will you have some news flow from the RC?
Yes, we've just finished the RC program, and the samples have left site earlier this week and are on their way to the lab. It's unfortunately 1 to 2 month turnaround on lab assays in Australia at the moment. It's probably the same everywhere. But visually, they look encouraging. It's very hard to get a read on rare earths. XRFs don't work that well, so we can't pretend to tell you what they are, but they do look encouraging, and we wait to get them back. And beyond that, we're with the diamond rig starting next week for the next 2 to 3 months. So it should be a continual news flow. Once the first assays come out within a month, it should be every 2 weeks from there. We'll have news flow. So it should be an exciting back end to this year for us.
And on that, I know for North American investors, you do have an OTC listing. Can you kind of talk about when you initiated that, and I guess some plans to grow that investor base?
Yeah, absolutely. We took out an OTC QB listing about April this year, I seem to recall. This is our first sort of push into this North American marketing. We've just engaged with yourselves at Red Cloud, and we look forward to continuing to expand that audience. I think it should be a receptive audience, because you very much focused on the EV revolution and the greening technologies. Biden's definitely making all the right noises in the US to support what we're talking about. So look, we think it should be fruitful for us. ASX is a well-functioning market, but there's a lot more people in North America than there are in Australia, of course. So we look forward to telling the story.
That's great. Jeremy, thank you again for joining us in your late evening. Greatly appreciate it, and for a number of good one-on-one meetings that we had for you. Look forward to continuing working together and getting this story up.
No, thanks very much. It's a pleasure to present. Thanks, Chad.